The story of Benji Wilson is one of the most heartbreaking stories in American basketball. He was a top-ranked player in high school basketball once upon a time, and he was so good he got calls from Magic Johnson before some of his games. Yep, you heard that right. He was really highly rated. Everyone expected Benji Wilson to go on to be an NBA star. And who knows, he might have been in the GOAT convo alongside Michael Jordan and LeBron James. But due to a series of unfortunate events, Benji Wilson did not play a single minute in the NBA. Like Samson in the Bible, Wilson ended up losing his life because of a woman. If you want to know how she ended up causing his death, stick around for a bit because we're going to break it down for you in this video. Now before we go into the Samson and Delilah story that eventually led to Benji Wilson's death, let's first look at how good he was so you'll understand how much of a tragedy his death really was. Benji Wilson was the first Chicago-born and raised basketball player to be named the nation's best high school player. It might not seem that impressive, but when you consider the players who came before him, like Hersey Hawkins, Isaiah Thomas, Maurice Cheeks, Kendall Gill, Nick Anderson, and Glenn Doc Rivers, just to name a few, and realize that none of them had ever reached that level, you realize how incredible an athlete he was. He was literally the best thing that happened to Chicago since Al Capone's death. Wilson attended Simeon High School. In case you don't know, Simeon High School is well known for producing high-level basketball players. Derrick Rose and Jabari Parker are two of the most high-profile NBA players who came out of that high school. Simeon was a national powerhouse in high school for many years and remains one of the best schools in the state of Illinois. Wilson enrolled at Simeon for his freshman year in 1981. Wilson was the only sophomore on the varsity basketball team during the 82-83 season. He was so good, he started as a junior in a lineup dominated by seniors. That's some Kuroku no basket shit. Wilson played a key role in his team's victory in the Illinois AA State Championship game, which resulted in the school's first state title. And Wilson was named the best junior in the country by ESPN-HS. Wilson attended the invitation-only Athletes for Better Education camp in Princeton, New Jersey that summer. Wilson had a lot of success during the camp, and he was ranked the #1 high school player in the country afterward. At 6 feet 9 inches, Wilson's game was very mature. He could shoot and pass at high school, and on the court there was no question that he was the best player out there. The entire nation was waiting for him to come to the NBA and dominate at this point. In fact, some couldn't wait, and all his high school games were sold out because people wanted to see him play while they could. The only stain in Benji Wilson's life at this point was the fact that he got his girlfriend pregnant at 16. I mean, kids will be kids, but the fact that he didn't use protection makes him sus in my books. Yep, okay, I'm judging him. Anyways, the problem wasn't that he had a kid. The problem was that for some reason, his girlfriend didn't want him close to the child. She wouldn't talk to him, and after they had the baby and took great steps to avoid Wilson. This then angered Wilson a lot because he wanted to be there for his kid and didn't want to be a deadbeat dad. And you gotta respect that, to be honest. That is some real man shit. To this day, there's no known reason why Wilson's girlfriend did not want him to be in the child's life. Maybe there's a valid reason. Maybe she was just being petty and hating on his success. But her actions would ultimately lead to Ben's death. On one fateful day, Benji and his girlfriend were arguing in school about the child and the whole situation. Ben was trying to convince her to let him in his child's life, and as usual, she wasn't open to it. She wanted nothing to do with him, which was weird because he's clearly someone that's going to be successful and she bore his kid, so why did she not want him in her life anymore? Anyways, the argument got heated and she stepped away from Ben. Ben took after her, and while trying to catch up, he bumped into Billy Moore, the man who would end his life in just a few minutes. Now let's talk a little bit more about Billy Moore and how he ended up at Simeon High School the day he killed Benji Wilson. But before we get into all of that, don't forget that you can win an Ultra Game NBA Men's Soft Active Sleeveless Jersey Tank Top T-shirt for free. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel and the Ultra Game channel, like this video, and drop a comment with the name of your favorite team or player. The link to the Ultra Game channel is in the description below. Billy Moore was not a student of Simeon High School. He went to a different high school nearby. he had a cousin who told him someone at Simeon High School stole $10 from him. So Billy Moore went to Simeon with a gun to scare the thief. Man, if you wanted to be an Avenger, you should have just applied to S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyways, Moore got to Simeon and then found out that matter had already been settled. So he just hung around and started talking to some girls. He was outside a store waiting for a girl when Benji Wilson bumped into him while chasing after his girlfriend. Billy didn't like that, so he yelled out, "You should watch where you're going." Wilson, who was already furious with his girlfriend, turned on Billy and challenged him. It turned a bit aggressive, as these dick measuring contests tend to be, and Billy Moore showed Benji Wilson the gun on his waistband. Now, I know what you're thinking. Every normal person would have backed off at this point, but not Wilson. Maybe it's a result of his never back down mentality that made him a great basketball player. Or maybe it's just because he was twice the size of Billy Moore. But on seeing the gun, Wilson got even angrier and tried to lunge at Moore. Moore pulled out the gun and 2 shots rang out, hitting Wilson in the groin and abdomen. Students gathered around when they saw it was Wilson, and though he was taken to the hospital, he never recovered and he died the next morning. And that is the official account, although there is an alternate account to what happened though. Store owner Andre Thomas, according to a Tribune report, said he heard from witnesses that Wilson was out front and he happened to bump into one of these 3 kids. Benji said, "Excuse me," and the guy said to him, "There ain't gonna be no excuses," and then he shot him. Now, whether that was true or not, we'll never know, but what we know for sure is a promising career was snuffed out that day. Wilson died on the day that Simeon was set to open the season against Evanston in the Rockford Boylan tournament. Coach Hambrick decided to take the team to Rockford, where Evanston players presented Simeon players with flowers before the game. Simeon triumphed 71-50, and nobody openly discussed Wilson. On that Saturday, an estimated 10,000 people attended services. Wilson was laid to rest at Oakwood Cemetery, where hundreds wept and yelled "Why?" His death was a shock to everyone in the basketball world. Until today, some people have never forgiven Billy Moore. Prosecutors charged 2 16-year-old boys, William Moore and Omar Dixon of Calumet High School, with Wilson's murder. Dixon and Moore were among 3 teens who blocked the sidewalk when Wilson attempted to pass through, according to police and later testimony by Wilson's girlfriend. Dixon and Moore were sentenced in October 1985. Even though authorities initially identified at least one of the youths as a gang member, prosecutors and defense attorneys did not address the alleged gang involvement during the first trial. Both Moore, the shooter, and Dixon were found guilty. Moore received a 40-year sentence, while Dixon received a 30-year sentence. Following Wilson's death, a mayoral task force on youth crime prevention was formed, and Mary Wilson was named as one of the advisors to a $3.9 million gang fighting program. Wilson's family sued the Chicago Fire Department and St. Bernard doctors for his medical treatment in the months following his death. Wilson was shot at 12:37 p.m., but was not taken to the hospital until 1:20 p.m., and was not scheduled for surgery until 3:14 p.m., according to the lawsuit. 7 years later, the lawsuit, which sought $10 million in damages, was settled. The family received an undisclosed sum. Its lawyer, Jeffrey Goldberg, stated that the settlement would provide for Wilson's parents and Wilson's son, who was an infant at the time of Wilson's death. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you like our content and want to see more like it, make sure you drop a like below and subscribe to our channel to get more great content on your feed. Till next time, live a life of purpose. I'll see you in the next one.